What is up, YouTube? This is Hypergon, your chap with the cap, back again for another video, specifically the newest installment of Throwdown Thursday. This is going to be actually a very special episode, because for the first time since I've started this segment, I've actually managed to get a viewer request from a Mr. Diablade Zat. I greatly appreciate it to you, Zat, and this one is for you. Now, the deck in question was fortunately one I'm kinda sorta used to, but not 100%, so I kinda lucked out on that one. The deck in question is a Scrap Meklord Accel deck. Now, the part of that I'm used to is Scraps. I've messed with them a bunch in the past, so I understand how they work. Then the other two are a little trickier, though. The Meklord part I'm not as used to. I've never really messed with them. I understand how they work, and I can see why it'd be a good idea to attack them in Scraps. It actually worked pretty well, to my surprise. The Accel part was the tricky part, because that required... It's basically Synchrons, and I'm not good at Synchrons. I've messed with them before, but they're a little too tricky for me. I just can't quite get them to work right. But I tested out the deck. Zat was kind enough to actually send me his copy of the deck, so I was able to see how that worked, use that as a baseline. So here's how I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this off first showing his deck, what he made and what he had in mind. But we had very different interpretations on how to approach this, so afterwards I'm going to show you my initial attempts at the Scrap Meklord Accel deck. And then I'm going to end it with the closest thing I got to a finished product. I never quite got it the way I wanted it, but this deck has a lot of inherent issues that come about when you try and mesh 3 different decks together. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Alright, so first, like I said, I'm going to show you how Zat did his thing. Wrong side. There we go. Alright, you're going to notice a lot of similarities because, as I said, I based mine very heavily off of his. This is up against just a standard super heavyweight samurai player, so not a lot, if any, of back row should be coming out of him. I decided to go ahead and just start this off with just, you know, some quick and easy beats, couldn't do much more than that. And he pulled this, and I'm like, oh jeez, it's going to be trains. Because I didn't even realize, all I had seen was the card D so far. Just figured I'd go ahead and set Call the Haunt in case I needed it later. And he really didn't do anything. I was like, alright, well, whatever. I guess I'll see what else I can do. I drew into a Kong, which was beautiful. Summon Kong, Kong triggered Weisel's effect and Scrap Factory's effect. He decided to counter with Max C, but at that point there wasn't anything I could do. The summons were going to happen. I figured I'd go ahead and get Golem. I wasn't going to use his effect. I didn't want him to draw too many cards. Got out Weisel. Now, one of the problems, like I said, with meshing all these archetypes together comes in the Meklord archetype. When a Meklord monster is out, no other monster can attack, so that makes them a little tricky to work around. Even with all of this, I could still only attack with Weisel, so that made things a little bit annoying. So he managed to use them as Tribute Fodder for Big Bang K, and that's truly when I realized what I was up against. So my turn had come around again. Unfortunately, he hit the very wrong monster. His best bet would have been to hit Golem, but he didn't know. Not that it mattered, I still had the Call Haunted. So I just brought him back, went for Twin Dragon to bounce him back. He tried to activate this thing to prevent destruction, but unfortunately for him, I wasn't going for destroying. Supply Squad triggered, and I decided to use the call to go ahead and get back Golem just for maximum beats. And the main reason that I decided to get rid of Weisel is, again, because of the attack thing. I'd already used him for what I needed. I didn't really have any tuners I could have used him with. I just figured, hell with it, let's just go in for beats, and I almost got him down. Plus, with the vanities I had gotten off of a Supply Squad's draw, it's kind of hard to, you know, I was pretty set regardless. So he tried to scales, bring back a monster. I decided to go ahead and vanities there. He just summoned Thomas C and quit. He kind of knew where that was going. There was really no way around that. And so that was Zat's build. Let's see now. What was the first one that I... 'cause now it's my turn to show off my work. I want to say it was this one against a Red Eyes deck. I probably should have looked over these beforehand, but, you know. Yeah, this is the right one. Okay, so this is my initial, like, the .001 version of the deck. Was by no means where it was supposed to be, and you can tell because I brought out a Kong and not a Golem. Why didn't I bring out Golem? Well, because I didn't see the point of bringing out Golem in this deck. Why? Well, one, again, it was combining multiple decks, so I figured I had to kind of minimize space. But also there was a bit of a mistranslation in the Accel part. You see, when most people say an Accel deck, what you typically tend to think of is things like Quasar. That was what I thought he meant. No, what our good friend Zat actually meant was things like Shooting Star Dragon and Stardust Warrior, things that just require one tuner and one non-tuner. I mean, I'm sorry, one synchro tuner and one synchro non-tuner. But regardless, I did my own thing, trying to go more for Quasar. He didn't really have a whole lot in the extra deck that could really use Starlight Warrior that well, so I didn't really go for it. And I didn't care much for Shooting Star, so I just kind of used it as I saw fit, more combining the two and just kind of having the options there. With this one, though, I am trying to go for Quasar, which is why I decided to go ahead and get out Beast. Also, Beast is kind of a good setup point. Plus, since I still have the, I just figured I'd terraforming for deck thinning. But then I was going to go for Kong because, you know, I still have the Scrap Factory, so I can still get that off. I managed to get back Orthros, which was nice. Just went ahead, go for Chimera. I was at least smart enough to remember to put him in the deck. So just, you know, swing, swing, beats, beats, blah, blah, blah. Then, you know, I just passed turn. Wasn't really a whole lot else I could do at that point. Unfortunately, since I was in fact working against a Red Eyes deck, and I have messed with these guys, I do know how tricky they can be. And this guy was indeed quite tricky. Alright, so I draw into my first Meklord guy. I decided to go ahead and summon Orthros so I can blow up Chimera, Scrap Factory will kick in, and Weisel will kick in. I swear, one of my new favorite combos has now become Weisel and Factory. It's hilarious how well that works. And at this point, I was still early on testing, so I kind of forgot about the whole I can only attack with the Meklord Emperor thing. So that's why I didn't go for Librarian first and lay on maximum beats. I just kind of forgot. So I'm 2/3 of the way to what I need. He kept trying to blow me up, but fortunately I had Scrap Iron Scarecrow. This is one of my favorite things to run in a Scrap deck. I know it's not part of the Scrap archetype, but for me it's just such a fun card, I can hardly say no. Okay, this was the part that actually just like, now that I had skill in it, this made me angry. So I did that, I managed to get out skill. This is how far I got. If I had realized that Mind Reader can only work with scrap monsters as synchro materials, I could have gotten a Quasar. That could have been a Scrap Searcher right there, and I could have gotten a Quasar with this. That would have been amazing, but no, because of that, I screwed up and I lost my ability to Quasar. I cannot tell you how angry I was. It was just ridiculous. And I couldn't recover from it either by just having him go with Scrap Chimera, because Scrap Chimera can only go into Scrap Synchro monsters. And there's no level 5 Scrap Synchro monsters, so that I basically shot myself in the foot there. And it honestly was just annoying that that had happened. I just couldn't believe I had gotten so close and just screwed up completely. Unfortunately for me, that was pretty much the peak on my end of it. This is kind of where things start to go hilariously downhill for me. So yeah, he's gonna go ahead and do all this. It's gonna turn in his favor pretty quickly. At this point, I'm more just trying to stay alive, and I figure, oh, I don't want all this on the field. So I just Dark Hole. I still managed to get Scrap Factory so I can maintain some presence. I'm guessing this was the only thing I had left, because otherwise that was kind of stupid of me. And so I figure, alright, well, I'm still going to try and see if I can do this. So I'll just Soul Charge these guys back. It gives me some field presence. It doesn't sacrifice too many of my life points. Maybe I can still Quasar somehow, some way. Unfortunately, I think I was kind of doomed with this because I really didn't... I don't think I had... Actually, yeah, I think I did have Glow Up Bulb in here. I just didn't have access to him yet for one reason or another. But yeah, unfortunately, I never actually do get out Quasar, so I kind of failed the Accel part. Sorry, Zat. Oh, there's Glow Up Bulb. Right when I don't need him. Now he's... At this point, I'm basically admitting to myself there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. I'm just... I'm just trying to win at this point as opposed to actually, you know, get Quasar. It's unfortunately the part where it got there. So at this point, I'm just like, alright, he obviously doesn't have any more spells, and I'm just gonna beast every spell card he tries to do. I try to be a bit more conservative with beast in the beginning of this, just because, you know, he may have had a Raigeki or something, but I figured if he didn't activate it by this point, he probably just doesn't have one. So I try and do this, just see if I can just build up some advantage. Unfortunately, I can't use Scrap Factory off of Scrap Storm for some reason or another. I don't know why, but I apparently can't. So he just keeps on going. I think he remembered that I even had the Scrap Iron Scarecrow there, to be honest. Yeah, this goes on for a little bit. I got a supply squad, which is kind of cool, so it's like, well, at least if something happens, I'm kind of protected. Wait, what? He had a Darkness Dragon? In this? Really? Okay. I mean, to each their own, I suppose. This is actually where it got really funny. So he's like, alright, fine, I'll get past the Scrap Iron Scarecrow. Nope, I have two. I always run these in a pair. And then he summoned this. This card lost me the duel. I could literally do nothing about this. It's like, alright, well, I still have my Scrap Iron Scarecrows as defense, so I don't need to worry about the Dark Hole just yet. I'll still find a way past this. Oh, unfortunately, he does that. I, at that point, try and see if I can miraculously pull a win out of this. He keeps doing that. Unfortunately, now he has all the reason in the world tech because of his freaking 500 burn damage thing. And I really didn't know what I was going to do at this point. So, yeah, I got another supply squad for all those... I didn't realize I actually just playing the thing, so... Like, alright, I need to get rid of this thing now. And of course he had a safe zone! Of course he did! So I get burned for another 500, the problem is not solved. These both activate, and apparently, that again triggers his effect. I knew Flare Metal Dragon was amazing, but this is ridiculous! Like, I was at 6,000 a turn ago, and now I'm down to 25. He got me down by literally more than half of my life points. Just from existing. It's so stupid. I really couldn't do anything. I was basically just trying to stall this out. Hope I could, like, get an MST or something. Unfortunately, I did not have that much luck. I just figured, alright, whatever, as long as I can just... If I can somehow survive this, I still have these guys. And unfortunately, he has this guy, and I cannot do anything about it, and that was it. My closest attempt at a Quasar ending so miserably. But now we move on to the final duel that we have. Ironically, since we just ended with a Red Eyes, now it's time for me to go on showing me facing a Blue Eyes deck. I kind of giggle at the irony a little bit. Tee-hee-hee. Wrong side. Okay. So as you can see, I have all of the factories, and he has this. Felgrand. Hey. I could tell where this was going pretty quickly. I knew I was going to struggle against this. So I figure, alright, let's just monk. See if I can't get him to just use these up. It's something. And, you know, just in case for some reason he decided not to, I still had the factories here, so I could have gone for something. I was pretty sure he wasn't going to do that, but, you know, whatever. It was just 2k damage. I was like, alright, no big deal. I can still come back from this. I still have plenty of life points. So at this point, I'm just saying things, trying to figure out how it is I'm going to kill this thing. This set had an odd tech of throwing in Fire Kings. I never seen that, but it worked pretty decently for him, so I guess to each their own. I'd be lying if I didn't appreciate originality like that from time to time. So now I just said Scrap Storm is kind of MST bait, and Scrap Iron Scarecrow as, well, Scrap Iron Scarecrow. My favorite little tech card. So now he knows that he really can't do anything to get through to me. he decided to just go ahead and set Mirror... Oh, jeez, they're both Mirror Force? So at this point, I'm like, alright, let's see if I can't do something about this. Scrap Kong blow up? Nope. Felgrand. It's like, okay, fine. Scrap Storm. I'll get something out of this, darn it. So I do manage to get Goblin in my hand and an MST, which is kind of nice. Just, you know, just MST that. I wasn't too worried about my lack of a field presence. I knew Scrap Storm wasn't going to trigger Scrap Factory since it misses timing. But I have this, so, you know, what do I care? Although he apparently seemed to forget I had the Scrap Iron Scarecrow and decided to go for it anyway. This guy does that a lot. He just seems to entirely forget about this card. A lot of people do. I guess they don't realize how Scrap Iron Scarecrow works. And so I summon Goblin just so I can use Orthros, pop. I know he can't do anything to stop me anymore. So now I get all this. A lot of things happen here. Let's see. That's right, Kong only goes back to my hand. And then I decide to just go ahead and grab back Goblin, so I have 2 tuners. Go for a Scrap Dragon, use that, pop Orthros to get rid of this guy. Orthros effect kicks in, I get back my Goblin, and I just decide, you know, let's just wail away at him. Unfortunately, he had Mirror Force. Fortunately, I had a Scrap Dragon, was able to use his other effect, most people don't know about, because they don't play Scraps, and bring back Scrap Golem. Scrap Golem's effect thing got to kick in. I got to bring back Beast, since I'd already added Goblin back to my hand, and just go for this just for the protection of it all. So I had a 32 monster they had to try and get past. With Blue Eyes, that's difficult. And worst case scenario, again, he blows up and I get back Golem, so I really had nothing to lose with this move here. He decided to go for Onslaught, so I knew a Garunis was going to be coming back right about now and blow up my field. But again, I was prepared, so I knew I was going to be able to get past that. Scrap Factory then kicked in, letting me get both Golems, so he had unknowingly just kind of become the architect of his own demise, which was kind of funny. So yeah, I just go ahead and get 2 level 4 tuners and just go for a Castell, just so I can get rid of that thing without destroying it. And then just summon Goblin so I can go for Thought Ruler, just get a little bit extra damage in there and some protection. He decides to go for that. Unfortunately, Scrap Golem was stronger, so I was still able to punch over it. And this brought him down to a mere 800. He is so lucky I could not have, Cowboyed. That's it. So he couldn't really do a whole lot because he had this lingering Blue Eyes, so all he could do was just set that, which I didn't care about. And a Mirror Force, which again I did not care about. So let's go ahead and do all this, get Cowboy, and just to be safe, game. So I couldn't get it then, but I was not taking that chance then. And that was actually it. As you can see, the Accel part really was the weakness. I commonly went for the bigger monsters that made it more difficult to go for things like Quasar as opposed to the smaller ones, but the bigger ones just tend to work better for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just how I work. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think down below. Again, thank you Diablade Zap for giving me the suggestion. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed messing with these decks, and I feel like it helped me get better as a player. So again, if you guys have a deck that you want to see highlighted next week, or whenever I get around to it, just let me know down in the comments below. Let me know how I did. You think this is a cool deck? Could I have made improvements? Diablade, did I do your deck and my own adaptations justice? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to also like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, peace.